everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be reviewing the Barbie movie. This movie, if I was not in the right state of mind for whatever reason, would have made me feel like I was experiencing something else completely out of this world. It was an experience for sure. It was everything I expected and then some. It like surpassed my expectations. I very much thought that this movie was going to be either a children's movie, which it was not, and I kind of felt like it wasn't going to be that, or B, a movie geared to us adults who had Barbies growing up, and it was very much nostalgic in that way, but very much geared to adults. It was very satirical, contained some foul language, and very parody-like in a lot of ways. Thus, very, not going to use the word dumb, but there was very, what are we watching kind of moments. But then we also accept it because it was one of those kinds of movies. So, that being said, this is what the movie ended up being. Do I think a child can watch it? Yes, with some hesitation, because there were some scenes that contained some adult language and ideas. But if they were to skip those scenes, which there wasn't many, I think it would have been okay. But I still feel that this movie was very geared towards us, who we grew up with Barbie. You know, it was very nostalgic in a lot of ways, but also this movie that was made to make fun of it, as well as cherish it, as well as make us happy and feel nostalgic and be entertained. So with that being said, this movie, we start off, we're in Barbie world, Barbie land. I think it was Barbie world. They think that they have fixed everything in society for women, that that society is very much a woman-dominated world because of who they are, what they represent, and they very much know that. And they very much know that they're dolls living in this world. And they very much live like dolls. They drink pretend drinks, eat pretend food, live in like the dream houses, which the dream houses I don't feel like were that accurate, because they were like closed on one side and then that one side on the other side was opened. These were just like all open, kind of like, it kind of felt like if you have Jenga and you kind of build like the little buildings with the Jenga like one on top of the other, like kind of like Stonehenge-ish. Not Stonehenge, but like, you get me though, right? Like that like felt like they were living on that like this very topsy-turvy kind of structure, which was cute for the movie, but I didn't feel it was very realistic. And you know, there were times when they were like taking a shower and stuff, so it was just like, okay. And some, I guess, like the main Barbies that like lived in the dream house or came with the dream house when like they came out, they lived in this little dream house corner. I felt like there was more of them that came out with dream houses, but I don't know. And they very much copied each other and they did the same routine every single day. So Barbie's happy. She's floating down, not taking the stairs. I made my Barbies take the stairs, because I did not feel like it was fair. And so they're just living their life. And one day, she starts thinking about death. And then the next day, she doesn't get enough sleep. And then she has flat feet. And they tell her that she is malfunctioning, and therefore she needs to go see Weird Barbie, because Weird Barbie knows all the answers, apparently. And she needs to go ask her what's going on. And Weird Barbie, who miraculously turns into like coolish like hipster Barbie later on, which I'm like, I want that Barbie. Like with the cool haircut and like paint stained pants. Like I thought that was cool. Why she changed, there was no reason that was given to us, but okay. So she goes to her, and she was told that because of something that she did and something that the child that is playing with her did, there is now a rip in the portal. And this sometimes happens, or like there's instances where Barbies are affected by the people that are playing with them, and thus she needs to go find the child and fix it now, so that way she can have her normal life and the child can feel better and continue on with their life. This is why I was a little confused. Most of these Barbies came out a while ago, thus, like, who is playing with them now? And that being said, is there like one specific child in the real world that is like chosen to play with a Barbie, and that's the Barbie that lives in this like world? Because there's like different versions and different copies of Barbies. Like they're manufactured by like so many that to put on shelves, and so there's lots of them. There's lots of that one Barbie. So which is it? Or is this like the first Barbie of that version that came out? And then like where were all like the newer Barbies that like had names besides Barbie? Like there was like all the Barbie movies with like the Princess and the Pauper, and they like had different names. So I'm like, where were all the Barbie movie Barbies and the different named Barbies? And where do the Bratz dolls live, and where do the other dolls live? I'm not sure how it works, but apparently all the Barbies live there that have ever came out, and each one I assume is being played with, or has been played with, or is attached to in some way a little girl in the real world. But if that's the case, little girls go through all sorts of emotions. I would think these Barbies are like running haywire. Like, why is it specifically like Barbie? Also, Barbie is called stereotypical Barbie. She is what you think of when you think of like Barbie. Blonde, blue eyes, like the original. So I don't know, again, which version of this is. This is the version that came with roller skates. This is the version that came with the puppies. Like, which one are you? And then also, like, when I see America Ferrera's character, who ends up being like the little girl or the girl that's playing with her, when I see the Barbie, it looks nothing like how Barbie looks like. It's not the original Barbie from what I saw. Like, we all only saw the back of it. I would have liked to have seen like the actual doll and her pickup, like the extra doll. I wanted like some life-size moments, you know, where it was just like, you are this doll, you came to life and are now in the real world. But like, it was very different than that. Like, they had to like get to the real world. They had to go through like all the Barbie methods of transportation that were ever released to get there, and then they ended up somehow in Venice Beach, because apparently that's where they come out of the portal. But going back, Barbie is like, well, I didn't do anything wrong, and turns out like her thing that like helped rip the portal or made the portal rip was that she wanted every day to be the same, and I guess it was time for change, and she was like the catalyst for that, and or like she was down, like deep down, not comfortable with her life anymore. She had like her Ken, and like I guess like it was the Ken that was like released with her, that she just was like in a relationship with, to be in a relationship with, which was kind of sad and very funny at the same time, because when they were drinking water and stuff, obviously they didn't drink the water, and then when Barbies, you make them kiss, they don't actually like kiss, you know. So when Ken was like, I expected like her to just kind of like bonk him and that be it, and he was like, wow, that was great, you know. So I don't know if they like actually kissed in that moment. I don't know how that works, but I was like, okay. So like, she's, I think deep down aware that she doesn't like him the same way that he likes her, and he was very much created for her, and he like explains that many times. And so I guess like it was just like time for change and stuff, and then we end up going to the real world. Ken ends up tagging along. She's fine with it. She's just like, okay. But then she's also like, you're going to ruin everything. Like, you're going to drag me down. So it's very clear that she doesn't like him the same way. And then they go. And she has like visions apparently, and they're never explained why she has these visions, but she has visions of the person who played with her, and that ends up being America Ferrera's character. And it's the mom of this little girl who once owned this Barbie. And it's stereotypical Barbie, what she's called, again. And I don't know if like this was the first Barbie of Barbie that was ever released, because like in the beginning there's like the giant Barbie that like comes out, and it's like the first Barbie, so I assume that's who she is. But again, I don't know who would be playing with that Barbie anymore, because again, I don't think those people would be around anymore unless you kept it for whatever purpose and then opened it and found it and was just like, let me play with this thing. So America Ferrera's character, very like, oh my goodness, you're Barbie, I'm going to save you and like talk to you and like enjoy being with you and like get in the car, kind of like very sees her and is very believing of like who she is, because she overhears her boss, who's the CEO of Mattel, and Mattel's is very much like mother world kind of place. The Barbies know about it, and it's very much like Mattel, but like at the same time there's things going on within Mattel. They know about like the Barbies, and I don't know how that works, like that the Barbies like live in Barbie world, and like it's this world of imagination, but like how did they create the Barbies? Like did they meet these Barbies and then create them, or they created them and then their imagination kind of went into this world? Like how does that work? I want to know. And so then there's like the ghost of the lady who made like the original Barbie that like lives like on the 12th floor, and she's the one that ends up like coming in the end. And I just think of this old lady like on roller skates like going to this world, and so she makes Barbie human, because Barbie is like, I'm going to figure out who I am, and I don't feel like Barbie anymore because I've learned all this stuff about the real world and about myself, and Barbie is now in the human world wearing Birkenstocks. But that's like the end of the movie. So then she, America Ferrera's character, ends up being very like believing, and the daughter ends up being like, no, very skeptical, like, I don't think this is Barbie, but then kind of goes along with her mom. Barbie ends up at first thinking that her daughter is the one who was playing with her, but that's not the case. When Barbie and Ken go into this real world, they are thrown for a loop. They are shown all the horrors of the real world. It's very much a slap in the face that females like have to go through all these different things. They're ridiculed, they're judged, they're criticized, and in a lot of ways it's a very male dominated world, and we're still trying to fight that. And later America Ferrera's character like explains that, like, you know, we have to go through this and that, and like it's hard, and there's all these contradictions and everything. And I was just like, go girl. And she just kept going and going, and that's how she like fixed the brainwashed Barbies that Ken brainwashed, because Ken saw that he was very much appreciated and recognized in this world, other than the fact that he couldn't get a job because he did not have an experience or a degree. He enters the real world. He is very much introduced to, again, this male dominated society that respects males, and females are very much disrespected in a lot of ways, and he loves this. He thrives off of this because Barbie doesn't really acknowledge him. He's not really acknowledged other than like Barbie's Ken, her significant other, because they are paired to be together. They have to be together. But they're otherwise not very important. And if Barbie doesn't say or make him feel important, he feels a very certain way. And this anger very much ends up driving him to go back to Barbie world. Well, it's not the anger that drives him, but once he gets to Barbie world and he like explains that, you know, this is how it is in the real world, or his perception of the 5 seconds of male acceptance that he got in the real world, and he tells them, and that very much brainwashes these female Barbies, and they believe him and become these stereotypical women in Barbie world, and the men end up running the society, and they end up being dominant. And Barbie, once she meets America Ferrera, ends up bringing her to Barbie world, and she sees this and wants to fix this, but she doesn't know how, and she's very down and depressed, and then kind of gives up a bit. And then they have to find a way to fix this, and create this female dominant society once again. And in the process of this, they acknowledge that the real world is not like this. The real world very much needs more change, that there's a lot more to do. And this is when America Ferrera's character explains like all the things that women go through and everything. And the only way to get these Barbies out of this brainwash is to tell them basically all the things that women go through. I thought it was going to be like this big adventure where like they find like a TV screen and like they are like, attention Barbies, and then like she like talks. But no, they had to like get each individual Barbie and like bring them into like a secluded area, and she had to just kind of like rapidly tell them these facts, which they didn't make it seem like it was very long, but there's a lot of Barbies there, so I just think that that would have taken a very long time, and it was very tedious. And then they make the Kens jealous, because the Kens are very jealous driven, and they make them fight amongst themselves in this very satirical parody-like fight, with all like the products that like come with like the Barbies and stuff that are in this world, and they're like just throwing it at one another and everything. It's like this big kind of like dramatic war thing, but it's also the dumbest thing you've ever seen. And while they're doing that, the Barbies are like, okay, we're gonna be in charge now, let's clean the houses, fix everything, like we're in charge again. And then the Kens come and they're like, oh no. And then like Ken is like, what am I gonna do, who am I? And then that's that whole scene like, there's no Ken without Barbie, it's Barbie and Ken. And then I thought that was very much going to be when she like left, when that, like they showed it in the trailer. No, that was at that moment. And I should have thought from the outfit, but basically she's like, no, you have to discover who you are, and I have to discover who I am. And then that's how basically it ends, and the ghost lady comes and takes her, and then like they're like, bye Barbie. So yeah, it was very interesting. Apparently America Ferrera's character like draws Barbie characters. She just like works like front desk at Mattel, and doesn't know about like the Barbie world and stuff, like and so like she was very sad for whatever reason. I guess it's because she was like having problems with her daughter, and like this whole thing reunited them. But she like drew very realistic Barbies, but like in a very like in your face kind of way, and so that was reflected on Barbie, and that's why she felt that way. But then also Barbie was kind of going through her own things, and she was very much like, I'm one for adventure, I'm morbid, I'm creepy, but like yes. And then the daughter was like, I accept you at that point. And the dad was nowhere around because he was learning Spanish. But okay. Yeah, Ken's character, I think, was like, he drove the whole movie. Like, he was hilarious. I very much liked, not him, but there was another Ken. Like, I think that in the short span of moments that we had him on screen, like, he was very funny. This one kind of drove me a little crazy sometimes, because he would just like say things and do things, and I was just like, why, Ken? Why? But when he entered his male dominance stage, like, he ended up dressing very different. It very much was a combination of like biker and western, and that's what the world kind of turned into. And the Barbies ended up dressing very like short shorts, you know, crop tops, and then some were dressed like maids, and it was just like very stereotypical. But at the same time, I think this movie tackled a lot of things that, you know, women go through, and even that men go through. I just think it did it in a very interesting way, and I think that a lot of what women go through, and a lot of the metaphors that were hidden within the movie, that, you know, women are not like recognized, treated a certain way sometimes, it was very much reversed, and you saw it through the male characters, which was very interesting. But then, like, again, males go through that sometimes too, but I didn't expect that in this movie, because it's Barbie. But at the same time, because Barbie is a very dominant, you know, icon, it makes sense that the Kens were kind of like pushed aside. There's this one line where it's like, if Ken is not happy or his day is not made until Barbie looks his way, which I was like, whoa, okay. There was like a narrator at times. The mermaid Barbies, like, I don't know what happened to them after a while. They kind of just showed up randomly, and like, weren't they brainwashed? And then there was a John Cena one, like, how did they unbrainwash them? Like, at some point I'm like, they missed a couple of Barbies to like unbrainwash, and they lived like in the ocean, but it was like the fake ocean that was like plastic, so everything was like plastic and stuff. So all these different things were happening amongst this very satirical movie, with random jokes thrown in and stuff, and things just happening, and things being made fun of, like different Barbies and like the discontinued Barbies and stuff like that, like I mentioned before. But yeah, all in all, I enjoyed the movie, but it gets you thinking, and then it also sticks in your head because it was just a lot. But I think that it wasn't that bad. Would I see it again right now? No, because I'm still kind of processing it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you all soon. Bye!